I can't feel my feet, but I'm still driving to Publix because nobody's going to take my keys away from me.
Yes. And so those are difficult conversations. The best advice that I have for anybody is like making sure that you're having these difficult conversations now. Before they actually become necessary.
Welcome to The Shield. This is a place where we sit down and we talk about how substance use and mental health kind of intersect with all parts of life. And at the same time, we shine a spotlight on some really awesome things that are happening in Birmingham and throughout Central Alabama. Thank you, as always, to our sponsor, Children's Trust Fund, for making sure that this gets to continue. And I'm really excited today because this is not a topic that we have tackled. We definitely didn't tackle it in season 1, and we've not yet tackled it in season 2 of The Shield. And that's seniors and older adults. And so with me today is Morgan Rhodes. She is a program coordinator at the Area Agency on Aging. And I'm so excited to have you here. Thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for inviting us. We're really excited.
So older adults, I mean, first and foremost, I feel like people who work in this field have a passion for seniors, for older adults. And it's not really an area that people talk about, right? I mean, people always talk about wanting to help kids and wanting to help puppies and wanting to do that kind of thing, but not so much with older adults. So how did you get into this work?
That's a great question. So I agree with you. You know, working with kids and working with puppies and animals and all these other areas are wonderful. But I kind of got started kind of by accident, I would say. I was getting my master's in social work, and I knew that like kids was not for me, not
your jam,
not my jam.
Okay.
But I thought maybe community development or working with family systems as like a whole. And when I graduated, a lot of the jobs that were available for social workers at the time were working with older adults, whether as a social worker in a skilled nursing facility, some sort of activities director at like an adult day.
Because let's face it, like we have a lot of older adults. Like that population is growing.
Exactly. And so this population is going to continue to grow because we're all living longer.
Yes.
And so investing and like working with older adults has really kind of helped me invest in my future self a lot. And so I ended up applying at the Area Agency on Aging for a long-term care ombudsman position, which ombudsman is just this weird word that means advocate.
Yes.
And so we, as an ombudsman, I was going into the nursing homes and assisted livings and boarding homes as a third-party kind of advocate that would advocate for residents' rights and investigate concerns and complaints. And that's kind of how that started for me. And like looking back at my childhood, I was one of those kids that always like hung out with my grandparents and like knew all the older adults, like when I was around my grandparents all the time. And so now looking back, I'm like, oh, this makes sense. Like even as a small child, I was used to working and dealing with people older than me. Mm-hmm. I was also the oldest grandchild on one of my family sides. So like, you know, there was nobody between me and the adults. So it's one of those things that kind of came naturally to me once I started working in it. And then now that I've been working in it for a long time, I've really enjoyed it. And when you advocate for older adults and when you work with older adults, you're ultimately advocating for your future selves, your future, you know, your family's future life. And this population continues to grow.
Yeah.
As healthcare advances happen, we live longer. But when we're not taking care of the systems or even our older adults as we get older, like we're not taking care of our future selves either. Yeah.
When I was in college, I went to college in Washington, D.C. and was really into politics and the nonprofit space. And at that point in time, I did an internship with I forget if it was a nonprofit or a 501c4 or what exactly they were, but we were advocating the medical field to invest more in gerontologists and to incentivize new med students, to go into that field and to dispel myths. Because I think that if you have not grown up with a grandparent, my grandmother lived with us beginning in the 6th grade, and we definitely, I saw her struggles. I saw, I have the fondest memories of like sitting and watching like the Miss USA pageant and like, the Wild Horse Saloon country line dancing and like the Love Boat and stuff like that. But if you don't experience that, and a lot of times we don't live intergenerationally like we used to. So if you don't experience that, it can kind of feel uncomfortable, right? But I say all of that to say that there still is quite a need for gerontologists, right? And for people to specialize in the needs of older adults because they are different, right? But also, like, it's important that you have some sort of lived experience, like with an older person that you love and can see them just as another human being.
Yeah. I mean, my mom's mom watched me from, preschool to like kindergarten, and she would pick me up after school, and that's who I'd stay with. And then my dad's parents, they first lived about 20 minutes away, but when I was in elementary school, they moved in next door. So for like, I got to see them all the time.
Yep.
And so, for me, talking to an older adult was not the thing that I had to get over, or like, that was not the push I needed.
Right.
It was just, I hadn't had experience with working with them, but I knew how to talk to them. And so, working in this field has been really rewarding for me because it's provided me with a lot of resources that I didn't know existed. And these resources, these area agencies on aging, like they all exist in every state in some form or fashion. Yeah. And so even though my family lives in Tennessee and I now live in Alabama, I can give them those resources that they need for my aging grandparents or aging great aunts and uncles and things like that.
So that's an amazing segue. So talk for people, I think AAAs are one of those things that you don't know until you need to know.
Yeah.
Right. And so talk about kind of the model of an area agency on aging. What age do you start to be able to qualify? And like what kinds of services? Because I think a lot of people might think of like a senior center or Meals on Wheels, but that's probably the tip of the iceberg.
Yes.
Okay.
So an area agency on aging kind of got developed out of the Older Americans Act of 1965. And so from 1965 up until today, it's kind of formed into what it is today. And so the federal government gives money to the states then distribute this to their own area agencies on aging or whatever they may call them in their own state. Different states do them a little differently. Some of them are based out of a nonprofit like myself. Some of them are based out of regional planning commissions or councils of governments. And so there's not a rule that says they have to be out of one or the other. It just kind of depends. And so once the state kind of gives it to their individual area agency on aging, that area agency on aging takes over the grant and then runs the programs.
Got it. And so, here you all are based out of the United Way.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
So in Alabama, we have 13 area agencies on aging. My area agency on aging just covers Jefferson County, and United Way of Central Alabama holds the grant for that. And so that's where we base out of. That's who we work with.
But if somebody like, let's say who's listening, lives in Blount or Shelby County, they could call you all and then you could direct them.
Absolutely.
Or they could call their own area agency on aging and then get directed to many of the same services that you're going to talk about.
Yes.
Okay.
And as you said earlier, Meals on Wheels and senior centers, I think, are the things that people think of most when they think about working with older adults and things like that.
What is considered an older adult?
That's a great question. So some of our programs are 60 plus, some of them are 55 plus.
Oh!
So that's so it depends.
A 45-year-old me just lost my breath for a second. Okay, I'm sorry. Continue.
No, you can't. So I would say the majority of programs are looking at somebody 60 years of age or older.
Still, though, that does not seem very old. Okay.
And it's true. Like we've seen, like at one point in time, 60 was considered a truly older person.
Right. But modern science, as you've said, right.
People are living into their 80s.
Yeah, my grandmother lived to 97.
Yes.
I'm like, oh Lord, I don't know if I want that either. But.
And so I would say the most of the clients that we're seeing, some of them are 60 and maybe they have a lot of health problems, and that's why they're coming to us for assistance.
Okay.
And then like the programs that are like 55 years of age or older are really for like prescription medication assistance, or one of our other programs that's working with like older relatives, things like that. And so it kind of depends, but I would say on average 60. There are some programs that are 55. And the majority of the Area Agency on Aging programs won't have an income requirement.
Which is amazing.
Yes.
Like amazing.
Yes. It's a need-based program. So we're assessing you guys, we're assessing anybody really for needs. So it's based off of like, what do you need? How much, what's going on in your life? How much support do you have? How much support do you not have? And like, it's prioritized by people that with the greatest risk and highest social need get served
So
first.
it would be like food. It would be like advocacy in if, let's say they're in a facility of some sort.
Yeah.
Do you also provide assistance for their caregiver?
Yes. So
Which is huge.
It's huge. So one of the programs we have is Alabama Cares, and they have a caregiver respite program. And this program in and of itself is designed to give the caregiver a break. Caregivers that are taking care of, whether this is a spouse taking care of their loved one that has a disability or some form of dementia
or something,
or they've had cancer, whatever that might be. They're really stressed out. It could be a older adult that's taking care of an adult disabled child that has lived with them and they're now aging and they're struggling to take care of that child. Or you're a son or daughter and you're taking care of your aging parents and you're trying to work and take care of your kids. Caregiving is stressful. It's
totally stressful.
It's very stressful. And a lot of times when caregivers are stressed, they're not taking care of themselves. And unfortunately, it's not until, that person is in a nursing home or that person's unfortunately passed away that they even realize how many medical problems they now have themselves. And so respite is designed to give somebody a break so that way we can reduce their stress in some form or fashion. Yeah.
When my mom, so I mentioned that my grandmother lived with us for a long time. She then decided that she wanted to kind of live on her own again.
Yeah.
And that was hard, I think, for my mom because she had been used to sort of watching her and whatever. And then as my grandmother really started aging, right, and was physically healthy, mentally not so much, she devoted like 20 years of her life to really taking care of my grandmother so that when my grandmother ultimately did pass away, many of us were like, what are you going to do now to like take care of yourself? Like this has been your hobby. This has been your passion. This has been your duty for all of these years. And now what are you going to do? Right. And I think there was a time after my grandmother passed away where my mom was really like questioning like her identity.
Yes.
Right. Like so much when people would say, hey, how are you? She'd go, well, mom is blah, 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 and when you now take that away, she was really sort of wondering like what's next for me.
her.
Right.
And I think that happens. I mean, that happens to a lot of people, regardless if it's a caregiving situation or retirement or a job.
For sure.
And so I think especially when you're a caregiver and you put your identity into being a caregiver and now that's not your identity anymore, that becomes a hard thing to overcome and then like redefine yourself.
Yep.
And try to figure out what's the best step forward. Part of our Alabama Cares program includes a support group for caregivers. And just because your loved one has passed away and you're not quote unquote a caregiver anymore, you can still attend the support group.
Wow.
And so I think that still gives people an outlet and a place to go to get some additional support because they can also lend support to people that are coming into the group that are overwhelmed from caregiving and they can give advice and they can tell them that they can do it and like they're not alone, that type of thing too.
Well, and you mentioned retirement. We've talked a lot on here on this podcast about mental health, particularly amongst older men after they retire, like that identity piece, right? Like, who am I? What is my purpose? And I don't know what it's like to be an older adult, but I can imagine that there are a lot of mental health challenges when you are used to being the one providing, you are used to being the one making decisions, and now your kids are trying to make decisions for you. And, I mean, it's just, that has to just be a wild experience.
We get calls from like both sides of the spectrum. Like, so our Aging and Disability Resource Center is like who takes all the intakes. Like, so when you call us, that's who answers the phone. And so we're talking to everybody. And sometimes we're talking to family members and like children. Sometimes we're talking to the client, and they're all kind of saying the same thing, that they're wishing that one or the other would do more or do less. And so it's this balancing act of going, sometimes for older adults, it's like realizing like the family feels like they want to take care of you because you've taken care of them for so long.
Yes, right.
But sometimes family members also need to realize like you can't just like run in. Sometimes you have to have, these are discussions you need to be having now
Right.
before they start becoming a
Yes.
need.
Yes.
So, start talking. Like if if your parents are still working and you're still working, start having these conversations about what they would expect and what you would kind of expect to be involved in. So that way, when that comes time for that loved one to step in and help, it's not a surprise. It's not a gotcha
Wow.
moment. Because for many older adults, just because they're an older adult doesn't mean they can't make decisions for themselves,
Right.
doesn't mean that they can't still do the things that they need to do. They absolutely should be given as much independence and dignity and respect as possible. But sometimes there are things that are dangerous. Maybe they shouldn't be driving. Maybe they should get a ramp put on the house. Maybe they shouldn't be going up and down the stairs. But if that's a safety concern, those are things that you guys could talk about now when it says like, okay, like this is a hypothetical, but what if there ever comes a time where we think you should stop driving, the doctor thinks you should stop driving, but you don't want to lose your independence? Like what's the word we can say that like comes to you for that? Because driving is such a part of independent life.
I am like sitting, I'm just taking this all in because you are like you're living in my brain right now and what we are dealing with. Yeah.
Because especially in a place like Birmingham, Alabama, like public transit is what it is.
Right.
And so like, and there are many good transportation option available resources out there for older adults and individuals with disabilities. But they prioritize like medical appointments for good reason, right? Because like
if you just need to go to Publix,
that you may get to go, but if somebody has to go to dialysis, that person's going to get, because dialysis is super important. And so like having these conversations, because driving is such a way for people to still exercise their independence, that it's hard to have that conversation when that person's in the middle of it. So if you've had these conversations leading up to that, especially when that wasn't even a remote possibility, that it's easier. Like, and sometimes older adults put those limitations on themselves. They just go, I don't drive at night anymore. I don't drive in the rain anymore. They've put that limitation on themselves because they're like, I don't really feel safe. And so some of them are like, I've talked to clients who are like, I just drive in the 2-mile radius around my house to the drugstore, to the grocery store, and back home,
And then others are like, I can't feel my feet, but I'm still driving to Publix because nobody's going to take my keys away from me.
Yes. And so those are difficult conversations. And the best advice that I have for anybody is like making sure that you're having these difficult conversations now before they actually become necessary.
It's like the power of prevention, Yeah. Amazing.
And it's one of those things where like, because it gets difficult, it gets hard because somebody's going to think you're coming in to take over my life, or you're just trying, like you're taking away my independence. And then that can lead to like social isolation, which can lead to depression and all these other factors as well. And so like, the Meals on Wheels and the senior center meals that we work with and nutrition wise, like those both are working to not only combat nutrition, but social isolation issues.
That's right.
So for individuals that can't drive and also can't physically leave their home due to some sort of medical reason or disability that are 60 years of age or older, we can assess them for Meals on Wheels. And then a volunteer brings a meal, also does a safety check, because sometimes these are the only people checking on these older adults regularly. And then they're also getting them a chance to connect with somebody. A lot of times it's the same volunteers pretty regularly. Mm-hmm. And so they
can build a relationship.
And these volunteers get to know the older adult really well. And so when that older adult's maybe not acting right or maybe is a little down, they can tell the case manager. They don't have to have like a legit, like a concrete reason. They're just like, Miss Smith was not acting herself today. She seemed a little lethargic. She didn't seem like herself. And so then maybe the case manager can be like, thanks for letting us know. We'll check on him. We'll talk with the family, see if there's something going on. Mm-hmm. And then for like the senior centers, like we partner with 28 of them here in Jefferson County to provide free lunches for anybody 60 years of age or older. And that's part of the Area Agency on Aging Senior Nutrition Program. And so for seniors that can either drive or several of them use ClassTran. And as long as they can get on and off ClassTran by themselves, the ClassTran will pick them up and drop them off.
Yeah, my grandmother used to be picked up by the Oats bus. So, yeah.
And they have a lot of fun. A lot of
Oh
them.
my goodness.
I've been to
Oh,
several
yeah.
senior centers and they're line dancing.
Oh, for
and
sure.
they're listening to
Playing
music
cards, canasta, all the
Yes.
things. Right.
And it allows somebody to get out of their house,
Yes.
make friends, enjoy an environment. And so typically when we like look at these programs, we're looking at them from like the nutrition side of things.
Sure.
But from like a mental health side of things,
Oh.
it's the combating that social isolation is super important.
Well, and not to stereotype or generalize, but the older adults we have now, like the people right now who are considered older adults, they didn't grow up really prioritizing their mental health. They didn't grow up on anti-anxiety or anti-depression medicines, right? And so the whole conversation around mental health is still relatively new to them.
Well, the beauty of today is mental health is in the discussion about everything.
1,000,000%.
So it's easier for people to talk about it with their kids and with their coworkers and, with their loved ones. For many of them, that wasn't the case. And so they're trying to learn how to have conversations about themselves and also understand maybe what their kids or their grandkids are going through. And so sometimes it's an interesting kind of topic for them. And I think a lot of them are getting I've talked to a lot of older adults. They're like, I'm so glad that we can talk about this because I didn't feel like I ever could.
Yeah.
And then I also have people that are still trying to feel out what it is because they've not had the opportunity to discuss this with somebody before,
Well, I mean, this is a perfect segue into kind of how we even got introduced because you all have not necessarily a new, but a newly funded program that sort of dovetails nicely into this mental health, but also opioid use disorder.
Yes.
So talk about the newly funded program.
So under the Alabama Cares umbrella that does all that caregiver respite and all that, we also have something called older relative caregiver. That's for individuals 55 years of age or older that are raising grandchildren or great nieces and nephews. And, they're raising children, And so part of this program got some new funding to help older relatives 55 years of age or older or providing kinship care to young children under the age of 18 those kids have come into their custody due to substance use disorder. So whether it was the parent or somebody else, and now these older relatives are taking care of these kids. And a lot of times, when you're not expecting that to happen, you've taken these kids in suddenly.
Correct.
And they're school-age children. And so you're trying to you're trying to learn back to school supplies. You're trying to learn how to navigate. Maybe they need beds. Maybe they need dressers. Maybe they need all sorts of, support that you don't have in your home. Right. Also, they're trying to learn how to do this technology divide. Kids in school today are using tablets.
And Chromebooks.
And all these things that I didn't use when I was in school. We had the laptop cart that got wheeled into the room. And so, for them, they're like, what's this tablet thing? Trying to navigate all that. So we've had this older relative program for a while, but this particular pot of money is to help with more substantial things for those clients who have taken in school-age children because of substance use disorder.
And so two things that I just want to make sure I get right. So there's like a cap on the amount of right? So they can apply for the money.
Yes.
And what is it, 2,500?
It's 2,500, I believe, per child.
So it would be like if they need
child
a prom
per household.
dress. Okay.
Yes.
If they need like a new bed, if they need whatever. School athletic uniforms or whatever the thing is. So it's $2,500 per child per household.
Okay. And we have limited spots in the program, so we can't accept every single person that applies.
And then there's also like a support group aspect of it, right?
So the support group meets, I believe, every third Tuesday of the month, and they meet, and it's for older relatives, and they get to come and talk. They can either join online or in person. And so it's a way for them to also not feel like they're so alone either, because they're all dealing with the same stuff, raising kids when they thought maybe they were done raising kids, and then now having to deal with social media and all these other things.
Maybe having to deal with the grief of particularly if they've lost a child and now they're raising their grandchildren.
Yes.
You got this money from opioid settlement dollars, right?
Yes.
And so when I was talking to one of your coworkers at Area Agency on Aging, and we were sitting down, because obviously it makes sense for APC to provide information on, support and
Yes.
things like that, but also just information like how do you talk to the kiddos that you're now raising about drug use and healthy communication in the home and all of that kind of stuff. So anyway, so we were chatting, and your coworker said to me, well, yeah, we got this opioid settlement money, and it's kind of new for us, and we also receive opioid settlement money. And what I shared to her is that I love that, first of all, that you all applied. That's number one. And then that the money that Alabama has secured from pharmaceutical companies, it is essentially blood money, right? And so it's really refreshing that the state has granted money to an organization like yours who can help those people who have lost kids, typically, to opioid use, to the opioid epidemic, and now it's not going to fix it, right?
No,
it's
nothing
not
can ever
going
bring
to.
that
No,
back.
it's not going
Yeah.
to fill the hole that is inside their hearts. However, it is one step in a direction because they are bearing the real weight of now being caregivers. And I have been parts of conversations in other states where those parents of people who have lost kiddos who are now raising their kiddos, they have felt really left out of the process and really neglected and really like, hey, what about us? No amount of money is ever going to bring my kid back, but
And a lot of these individuals are living on fixed incomes.
absolutely, yes.
Or retirement and pension. Like those things don't increase. And so some of them are going out and getting part-time jobs because they're trying to continue to bring money into the household because they're caring for 1, 2, maybe 3 kids now.
Right.
And so, part of this is to help with some bigger ticket items that, we couldn't help with before, some of these essential household goods and stuff like that. And so, this is a way for them to get some additional relief, and you're absolutely right. It's not going to bring back their loved one. It's not going to erase maybe the trauma, the mental health needs, the years of maybe grief that they've been experiencing prior to that loved one passing. And then now that their loved one has passed, but they're trying to grieve and maybe raise these kids at the same time. And right now raising kids is going to take priority because they have needs that need to be met. And so hopefully this allows them to get some additional support. So maybe they can feel like they're being supported, but also allow them a space to especially if they come to support group, to grieve when they need to grieve,
Yep. Yeah, to develop a network and a cohort and to connect with people that are going through it as they're going through it. I mean, I think it's just such a needed, and it's just like a perfect place for you all to be.
Yes.
And I mean, prevention, treatment, recovery, like typically we think that it's like certain agencies' jobs, right? Like if you're a substance use agency, this is what you should be doing. This is how you should be working together. But we all kind of need to think outside the box, right? Because clearly folks that you're working with have been impacted by this.
Yes.
So the fact that you all went for the application, received it, and are now supporting people who have lost loved ones and are now raising grandkids typically, like that's incredible.
And
I love this.
And this has been, they piloted it at a different area agency on aging last year, and they thought it was really successful. And so they've allowed the other AAAs to kind of come on board. And so this is something that's available to you regardless if you live in Jefferson County, Alabama, or other counties. So, calling your local area agency on aging and getting screened by their ADRC, they do the intake, they do the screening, and then they send it to the older relative caregiver program, and then they contact them back and start, looking to see what they can do, if anything,
Awesome.
Obviously depending on spots available. But so that's just one of the really cool kind of things that I think are happening because, we don't want to reinvent the wheel and create some sort of new agency that hasn't existed. The idea is work with somebody that's already got their foot on the ground, working with people in their communities, and try to allow them to help those people in their communities, which is, I think, one of the ways that I think the state of Alabama looked at it as like, we already have these organizations that are working with older relatives and they're already raising grandkids. And some of them are working with, kids that have lost parents due to substance use disorder. Yeah. So let's figure out a way to continue to help them,
Right. And we also, we've been thinking about how we can support you all, particularly when it comes to medication disposal, because we have money from that same pot of funds to be able to expand access to medication disposal. And yes, people with transportation can go and drop their unused medication or expired medication off, at a pharmacy or maybe a police department. But some of the folks we're talking about do not have transportation. And if you're anything like me, like with plastic bags at the grocery store, I have like a heap of plastic bags in my trunk. And I'm like, oh, I need to bring those in and recycle them. And like, I always forget.
Yes.
And so we don't want, unused medicine rolling around in our trunk.
Yeah.
So we have lots of different, mechanisms that we've started really thinking about how we can partner.
Yes.
Again, that's not a new program you all have to create.
No.
It's something we're doing. How can we work together? And one of the places we're really going to be coming and kind of making a splash with the medication disposal is your fraud summit.
Yes.
Which, by the way, because of accents around here, for like the first 10 minutes of my conversation, I definitely thought it was Frog Summit. And I'm like, this is not making sense to me. Fraud Summit, which is kind of the last piece I want to talk about because fraud is rampant and they are targeting seniors, even seniors who are digitally
savvy.
Totally.
Yes.
I mean, look, they've gotten real tricky.
Yes.
So talk about the Fraud Summit, talk about why you're doing this.
So we have what's called the State Health Insurance Assistance Program and the Senior Medicare Patrol Program. So we provide free, unbiased Medicare counseling through the State Health Insurance Assistance Program. And kind of underneath that.
What does that mean? Like you're going to be eligible and you don't know which parts to take? Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I was just having this conversation with someone the other day and they were like, do I take D? Do I take B? I'm like, you are asking the wrong person.
So A is hospital.
Okay.
B is doctor. D is drugs. And C is everything in a Advantage plan. And so you get one card instead of two cards. It gets complicated. Medicare is complicated. And so like we have certified SHIP, State Health Insurance Assistance Program counselors and staff whose job it is to do that free unbiased Medicare counseling. And part of that was identifying Medicare fraud. And so they can help, like if you think there's been any fraud on your Medicare, the Senior Medicare Patrol Program, like we can send that up through to the state and through the federal government to try and figure out what's going on and figure out if it's actual fraud, if it's abuse, if it's maybe just a mistake or an error. Can we get that fixed? Like what's going on? And that's kind of where this kind of started. So like when you're looking at Medicare fraud, you want to help educate people on how to detect Medicare fraud, how to identify Medicare fraud. Who do you contact?
Is that common?
So it's really one of those things where I believe billions are being lost to Medicare due to fraud. And it's not because, sometimes it's because there are bad actors that are, signing up for Medicare that aren't supposed to be. But that's really not the case. It's really because clients are being billed for services they're not supposed to, they haven't received. And then the client, the Medicare beneficiary is not recognizing it.
Got it.
And so, and in many ways, some people are like, well, if I didn't get that lab work, what's the big deal? And they're like, that may be true, but if in like 3 months you did need that lab work, Medicare,
and then you could be denied.
Right, because Medicare thinks they've already paid for that for you.
Got it.
Right? And so, so some of it is really about making sure that you don't get denied something that you need because Medicare thinks they've already paid for it for you because Medicare got a bill. You didn't, it showed up on your Medicare summary notice and maybe you didn't flag it. And so Medicare saying, okay, we'll pay for it.
Oh.
And so there's some of that. There's durable medical equipment fraud where they send you a free thing in the mail, but it's not free because they charged your Medicare for it. And maybe, that type of stuff. So that's kind of where the conversation started. And so they started doing this fraud summit. And so in the fraud summit, we have typically Alabama Securities Commission come in and talk about insurance scams. investment scams, stuff like that.
The people that are like, we're replacing roofs in your neighborhood to hail. And like, they always seem to prey on like the seniors,
Yes.
you know?
And they look at investment schemes like Ponzi schemes and stuff like that. So like Alabama Securities Commission, when they come, they're really honest. They're like, if you've been approached by somebody to like invest in something, please come and call us to make sure that they're registered with us, a legitimate company. We have no problem looking that up for you before you invest in something.
Totally.
You know? And so they tend to come to talk, and then our Medicare our SHIP coordinator will come and talk about Medicare fraud, how to detect Medicare fraud, what to look for, how to report it, all that stuff. In the past, we've had people from the FBI come and talk.
And this is a free event, right?
It's a free event. So we're doing this on May 12th from 1 to 4 at the Hoover Public Library in their theater. And so it's a free event. They can call us to register, I believe. And then they can even, I believe it'll be posted on our website.
Wow.
And so, we'll have different speakers come and talk about different frauds and scams. Because you're absolutely right. It's not so much because for a long time, and still to a certain degree, people tend to get exploited financially by somebody that they know in some form or fashion. And that is still true. But we're also seeing this increase in frauds and scams. Like, I got a text the other day that was like a picture of a ticket I supposedly got in Davidson County, Tennessee, with a QR code to say, go ahead and pay your speeding ticket.
Those
Otherwise,
damn speeding ticket things. They've almost gotten my boyfriend's dad like a million times.
And I'm like, first of all, they're not going to text me a picture of something. They're going to mail it to me in the mail. Right. And then from the mail, it should have all the official stuff. But
it looks official.
It looks official.
And no one wants to have an outstanding ticket.
And then like the USPS stuff where they send you a text pretending to be the United States Postal Service saying that something is held in customs or something and you have to pay a fee to get it released. And so they're doing all these things, and it's not about catching everybody. It's just catching enough people.
Just enough people.
Yes. And so there are, all these different types of frauds and scams going out. And so the point of the Fraud Summit is to help people get educated, talk about examples, make people feel like they're not alone, because these scammers have gotten really, really good. I mean, they're not just attacking older adults. They're also emailing and doing phishing scams where they send you an email that looks legitimate with a legitimate attachment that you read. It turns out it's not, but they've somehow infiltrated your system.
And when going back to mental health, when you have fallen for one of these,
yes,
you feel very guilty. You feel you feel dumb.
A lot of people feel like they have, they're like, I'm smarter than this. I don't understand what's happened. And I'm like, look, this happens to a lot of people. You're not the first, you won't be the last.
Correct.
It's not your fault that bad actors are out there trying to take your money or try to scam you out of something. But the thing we can do is try to make it happen less. Or because anything that says it's immediate, you have to do it now. Take a minute and go, do I really have to do this now? Like right now? Or should I maybe call somebody?
Yeah.
Says you got a speeding ticket from this county in Tennessee. You can typically call them or go to their website and put in your license plate, and it will pull up if you have a ticket or not, in their system, And so all of that, tends to be a thing. So they try to get you with that sense of urgency,
right?
Which is typically the easiest way for you to get to click faster. So, the Fraud Summit's May 12th of 2026 at the Hoover Public Library in the theater from 1 to 4 p.m. We're super excited. We're going to have some great vendors like yourself are going to be there. And we're also going to have different speakers so that way people can come and get educated, get some different supplies, different materials. It'll be a really cool event.
I am so excited and so grateful for you to be on this, because I just think that you have shared in the last 30 minutes, you have shared so much information. You have dispelled a bunch of myths, and hopefully you've inspired people to go home and have conversations with their families about, about fraud, about driving, about, the whole gamut. Mental health. I'm so appreciative, and really, you are in the right field. When you talk about it, you are not only knowledgeable, but you also you seem to really love what you do.
I've really started to enjoy what we do, and we do a lot of services, everything from those caregiver supports to in-home services to we partner with Legal Services Alabama to help people get free legal advice for anybody 60 years of age or older. So,
Wow.
because wills and power of attorneys, advanced directives, again, those are all conversations you might need to start
We should
having
have now, folks.
And then that way, and if you need help with a will, we can do that for free. Medicare counseling, we also have a program that helps with people that can't afford their medication costs for their chronic health conditions. Because when you can't afford your medication, for your chronic health conditions, you tend to skip doses.
Right.
And then when that happens, you end up in the ER or your condition gets worse. And so this program is designed to try to find ways, either through a pharmaceutical manufacturer or a grant, to help you afford those medications. And we help with the whole application process. And so, we do a lot of different services, including the nutrition programs we kind of talked about earlier. And then, if you know somebody that's in a nursing home or an assisted living that needs an advocate, our ombudsman program is always there. You don't have to pay them. They're free. Anybody can talk to them. They can take anonymous complaints. And so really the best way to get in contact with us, or if you're just curious, it's called the 1-800-AGE line in Alabama. And
1-800
AGE line.
Oh, AGE line.
Yeah.
Literally.
AGE
okay.
line.
Whoa.
It's 1-800-243-5463.
Huh. Okay.
And then they literally route you to your local area agency on aging.
Thank you for not giving me a website.
Oh, you're welcome.
Because it would look, my mom's turning 70. She's pretty digitally savvy, I guess, but it would take her. She just loves to pick up the phone and chat.
And that's what we're here for. You don't have to come into our office in person. We're here to chat with you on the phone. Our Aging and Disability Resource Center specialists are happy to do intakes and assessments, find you resources, whether that's transportation, whether that is some of our programs in-house, all of those different types of services. Yeah. Let us know if you need a list of our senior centers. Our senior centers are doing a lot of stuff. Some of them are even doing Tai Chi classes, which is super cool. Yeah.
Thank you for what you do. I appreciate the partnership. I love that you all have received some opioid settlement dollars. I think that is an investment that is so needed and so worthy. And I hope your program gets on a wait list, right? I don't hope that, but I do hope that, right? Because then that shows that we need it and that this is exactly what people are hungry for, right? So thank you so much.
No, thank you guys for having us on. We're excited to keep partnering with you.
If you liked what you heard, and I know you did, and if you have a million notes from listening to this because you're like, I got to talk to mom about this, I got to talk to dad about this, please consider rating, reviewing, and subscribing to The Shield. And if you have questions, call 1-800-AGE line. And you'll actually talk to a human. Bye.